Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you doubted yourself? Maybe it was before a big meeting, a tough conversation, or a new opportunity that felt just beyond your reach. We all experience moments of self-doubt. But confidence isn't something you either have or don't have. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows when you use it. Stand up straight, shoulders back, head high. It sounds simple, but the way you hold yourself sends a message to your brain, I am capable. The world sees you the way you see yourself. Listen to your words. Are you filling your sentences with I think and maybe? Speak with clarity. Speak with conviction. The more confident you sound, the more confident you'll feel. Confidence doesn't come from achieving huge goals. It comes from stacking small victories. Did you step outside your comfort zone today? That's a win. Recognize it. We wait for confidence to show up before we act. But confidence comes from action. The moment you take that first step, fear starts to lose its power. Every failure is just feedback. It's a lesson, not a definition. The most confident people aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who don't let failure stop them. Confidence is contagious. If you spend time with people who believe in themselves, you'll start believing in yourself too. Choose your environment wisely. We are so quick to remember our failures and forget our strengths. Write down moments when you felt proud, strong, or unstoppable. Look at that list when doubt creeps in. Confidence isn't about knowing everything. It's about trusting yourself even when you don't. So stand tall, speak boldly, take action, and watch how quickly everything changes. Let me ask you a simple question. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately sized up the energy of the people inside? Before anyone speaks, before you even hear a word, you can feel it. Some people exude confidence. Others seem uncertain, hesitant, even small. And yet the difference isn't always in their experience, their intelligence, or their abilities. It's in how they carry themselves. We often think confidence is something we either have or don't have, like eye color or height. But that's not true. Confidence is built. It's a skill, a habit, a decision we make over and over again. And one of the quickest ways to build it is by changing something that seems almost too simple, our posture. Think about the last time you felt nervous, insecure, or unsure of yourself. What did your body do? Chances are you shrank, your shoulders rounded forward, you're forward, your head tilted down. Maybe you crossed your arms or fidgeted with your hands. These aren't just random habits. Where your body is physically mirroring what your mind feels inside. When we feel small, we make ourselves small. And the worst part, this behavior reinforces itself. The more we shrink, the more we feel like we should shrink. Now, let's flip that. Think about a moment when you felt powerful, when you were proud, accomplished, or completely in control. Maybe you landed a big opportunity, won a competition, or simply stood up for yourself when it mattered. What did your body do? You stood tall. Your chest expanded. You looked people in the eye. Your voice was steady and clear. Your body projected confidence, and as a result, your mind believed in that confidence. This isn't just psychological, it's biological. Studies have shown that when we adjust our posture, our body chemistry shifts. Standing tall with an open posture increases testosterone, the hormone linked to confidence, while decreasing cortisol, the hormone associated with stress. In other words, changing how you stand can literally change how you feel. It's why great leaders walk into a room with presence. It's why top athletes stand tall before a big game. It's why someone who believes in themselves physically takes up space rather than shrinking into the background. And here's the most important part. You don't need to feel confident to act like it. The action comes first. The feeling follows. Most people wait for confidence to appear before they change how they behave. They think, once I feel ready, I'll speak up in meetings. Once I feel confident, I'll introduce myself to that person. Once I feel strong, I'll take that risk, but that's not how it works. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you do. And the easiest way to start doing it is by adjusting the very thing that's always with you, your body. Right now, if you're sitting, straighten your back. If you're standing, plant your feet firmly on the ground. Drop your shoulders. Lift your chin. Take a deep breath and expand your chest. This is what confidence looks like. And if you hold it long enough, it's what confidence starts to feel like. You see, we often overcomplicate personal growth. We assume that to become more confident, we need years of experience, endless validation, or some big external transformation. But the truth is, the smallest shifts create the biggest impact. And there's nothing smaller or more immediate than changing your posture. If you want proof, look at any high performer in any field. Watch a world-class athlete before they compete. They don't slouch, they don't shrink, they stand tall, shoulders squared, eyes forward. Watch a top CEO giving a speech. They don't fidget or look at the floor. They command attention with their posture before they even say a word. And here's the best part. This isn't something reserved for people at the top. It's available to you right now. It doesn't require talent, money, or years of experience. All it takes is awareness and a choice. The next time you walk into a room, before you say anything, adjust your posture. When you're about to have a difficult conversation, stand a little taller. When you're feeling unsure of yourself, open up your stance instead of closing off. At first, it might feel unnatural. That's okay. You're not just changing how you stand, you're rewiring how you see yourself. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Other people will notice. Confidence is magnetic. The way you carry yourself sends a signal to the world about who you are. If you walk into a room with your head down and your arms crossed, people assume you're unsure. If you walk in with presence, they assume you belong. And what happens? You start to believe it too. Well, think about a time when you met someone who instantly commanded respect. Maybe they weren't the loudest in the room, but something about their presence made you listen. That's not an accident. That's confidence in motion. And confidence, when practiced, becomes who you are. Now, I want you to imagine something. Picture yourself 1 year from now. You're walking into a big opportunity, maybe a job interview, a presentation, or a moment where you're about to step into something bigger than you ever have before. How do you want to show up? Do you want to hesitate, second guess yourself, and shrink into the background? Or do you want to stand tall, speak clearly, and own the moment? That decision starts now. Not next week, not next month, right now. In this moment, so let's make it simple. Right now, straighten your back. Lift your head. Uncross your arms. Take up space. Feel the shift happening inside you. This isn't just about looking confident. This is about being confident. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Confidence isn't an accident. It's not a gift, it's a habit. And it starts with something as small as how you stand. Because when you change your posture, you change your mindset. And when you change your mindset, you change everything. Have you ever noticed how the way someone speaks can completely change how you perceive them? Two people can say the exact same words, but one will capture your attention while the other fades into the background. The difference isn't just in what they say, it's in how they say it. Confidence, or the lack of it, is embedded in our speech. And whether we realize it or not, the way we speak doesn't just influence how others see us, it influences how we see ourselves. Most people don't pay attention to how they speak. They focus on the content of their words but neglect the delivery. They soften their language with phrases like "I think," "maybe," "I'm not sure," but they speak too fast, too quietly, or in a way that seeks approval rather than commands attention. They allow uncertainty to creep into their voice, and in doing so, they reinforce their own self-doubt. But here's the truth: confidence isn't just about what you know, it's about what you project. And the way you speak is one of the fastest ways to shift from uncertainty to confidence. Think about someone you admire, someone who speaks in a way that makes you listen. They don't rush. They don't dilute their message with unnecessary filler words. They speak with clarity, certainty, and purpose. And as a result, people pay attention. But more importantly, they believe in what they're saying. Now, imagine if you did the same. Imagine if starting today, you removed hesitation from your speech. Imagine if you replaced "I think" with "I know." Imagine if you stopped trailing off at the end of sentences as if waiting for permission to be heard. What would change? How would people respond to you differently? And more importantly, how would you start to feel about yourself? Most of us don't realize how much our speech patterns reflect our self-perception. If we speak hesitantly, we feel hesitant. If we speak with uncertainty, we feel uncertain. But the opposite is also true when we speak with confidence. We become confident. It's not just about pretending, it's about rewiring the way we see ourselves through the way we communicate. The key is awareness. Pay attention to how you speak in daily conversations. Notice the words you use. Do you over-apologize? Do you preface statements with disclaimers like "this might be a dumb idea," but do you lower your voice at the end of sentences, making them sound like questions rather than statements? These small habits, repeated over time, shape the way you show up in the world. Now think about what would happen if you made one small adjustment. What if instead of saying "I think we should go with this plan," you said "we should go with this plan"? What if instead of saying "maybe I could help with that," you said "I can help with that"? The shift is subtle, but the impact is enormous. Because when you remove uncertainty from your words, you remove uncertainty from your mindset. There's a reason why the most compelling speakers use deliberate pauses. They don't rush to fill the silence. They let their words land. They trust that what they're saying has weight. And because they believe it, others believe it too. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room to command attention, you just have to speak with certainty. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that confidence is about knowing everything. It's not. Confidence is about trusting yourself even when you don't have all the answers. Think about a time when you were in a conversation and someone asked you something you weren't sure about. How did you respond? Did you hesitate, stumble over your words, or say, "I don't know," in a way that made you feel small? Or did you say, "I don't know, but I'll find out," with clarity and control? The difference between the two isn't knowledge, it's confidence. One response diminishes your presence, the other maintains it. And this is something you can practice every single day. One of the fastest ways to build confidence in your speech is to slow down. When we're nervous, we tend to speak too fast, as if we need to get through our words as quickly as possible before someone interrupts. But speed signals insecurity. Confident people take their time. They pause. They emphasize key points. They own their space. And as a result, their words carry more weight. Try this the next time you're speaking. Take a deep breath before you begin. Instead of rushing, slow down by just a few seconds. Notice how it feels. It might be uncomfortable at first. You might feel like the silence is too long, like you need to fill it with words. But the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more powerful you'll sound. Confidence in speech isn't just about being heard, it's about being felt. People don't just listen to words, they listen to energy. They listen to conviction. And when you speak with confidence, people don't just hear you, they believe you. This is why some of the most influential leaders and speakers aren't necessarily the smartest people in the room. They're the ones who communicate with certainty. They're the ones who make you feel something when they speak. And that's a skill you can develop. Start small. Begin by eliminating filler words. Replace weak phrases with strong ones. Speak a little slower. Stand a little taller when you talk. If you do this consistently, something amazing happens. You start to believe in yourself more. And when you believe in yourself, others will too. Because at the end of the day, confidence isn't about perfection. It's not about having all the answers. It's about speaking as if you belong in the conversation. And when you do that, something incredible happens. People start listening. But more importantly, you start listening to yourself. And that's when real confidence begins. Have you ever noticed how your body reacts when you feel uncertain, nervous, or out of place? Maybe your shoulders slump forward. Maybe your arms fold across your chest, as if you're trying to protect yourself from the world. Maybe your gaze drifts downward, avoiding eye contact. What you may not realize is that these small physical shifts aren't just a reflection of how you feel, they're actively reinforcing those emotions. Your body language is more powerful than you think. It doesn't just communicate confidence or insecurity to the people around you, it communicates those feelings to yourself. In other words, the way you hold yourself doesn't just reflect your mindset, it shapes it. Think about a time when you felt truly powerful, when you accomplished something significant, or stood up for yourself in a way that mattered. Maybe it was landing a job, winning a competition, or simply taking a bold step outside of your comfort zone. How did you hold yourself in that moment? Did you stand tall? Did you make eye contact? Did you feel a sense of presence? Chances are your posture and movements reflected your internal state of confidence. Now think about a time when you felt nervous or insecure. Maybe you were in a room full of people you didn't know. Maybe you were about to speak in front of an audience or take on a challenge that felt bigger than you. What did your body do then? Did you shrink? Did you fidget? Did your voice become quieter, your presence smaller? The connection between body language and confidence isn't just an observation, it's backed by science. Research has shown that certain physical positions, often called power poses, can actually alter your brain chemistry. Standing tall with an open posture increases testosterone, a hormone linked to confidence, while lowering cortisol, the hormone associated with stress. Simply put, the way you position your body can influence the way you feel. Now let's turn this into something actionable. Imagine you're walking into a situation where confidence is required. It could be a job interview, an important conversation, or even just entering a room where you don't know anyone. Most people If they're feeling nervous, allow their body to follow their emotions. They shrink, hesitate, and physically show their discomfort. But what if you did the opposite? What if, before you even walked into that room, you took a moment to adjust your posture? Picture yourself standing tall, shoulders relaxed, head high. Imagine making direct eye contact and planting your feet firmly on the ground instead of shifting nervously. Instead of crossing your arms or fidgeting with your hands, keep them open, expressive, and engaged. Just that simple shift changes the way you feel and, more importantly, the way others perceive you. People respond to confidence. When you carry yourself with presence, the world treats you differently. They assume you belong in the room. They listen when you speak. They trust you more. And the interesting thing is, the more people treat you with confidence, the more you start to believe in yourself. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. This isn't about pretending to be something you're not. It's about tapping into a version of yourself that already exists, the version of you that stands tall when you feel strong, that looks people in the eye when you believe in what you're saying, that takes up space instead of shrinking into the background. Confidence isn't something external that you need to find. It's something internal that you need to activate. One of the simplest ways to start doing this is to become aware of your body language throughout the day. Pay attention to how you sit, how you stand, how you move. Are you hunched over your phone, head down, shoulders forward? That posture alone signals to your brain that you're closed off, insecure, and hesitant. Instead, lift your head, straighten your spine, and expand your posture. It's a small change that has a massive impact. Another key element of confident body language is eye contact. When people lack confidence, they often avoid looking others in the eye. They glance down or look away too quickly, as if they're seeking an escape. But eye contact is one of the most powerful signals of confidence and connection. When you look someone in the eye while speaking, you're not just showing confidence, you're building it. If holding eye contact feels uncomfortable at first, start small. The next time you have a conversation, consciously remind yourself to maintain eye contact for just a few seconds longer than you normally would. Over time, this will become second nature, and you'll notice that people respond to you differently because eye contact conveys certainty, trustworthiness, and presence. Gestures also play a crucial role in body language. People who lack confidence often minimize their movements, keeping their hands close to their body or hidden away in pockets. Confident individuals, on the other hand, use gestures that are open and expressive. They don't fidget or make nervous movements. Instead, they use their hands to emphasize points, which naturally makes them more engaging and compelling when they speak. Think about the last time you watched a great speaker or leader. Chances are they didn't just stand stiffly with their arms at their sides. They moved with intention. Their body language matched the confidence in their voice. They occupied space instead of shrinking from it. That's not a coincidence, that's a practiced skill. And it's one that you can develop too. One of the most overlooked aspects of body language is breathing. When people are nervous, they tend to take shallow breaths, which only reinforces their anxiety. Confident individuals, however, breathe deeply and steadily. If you ever feel yourself becoming nervous before an important moment, take a few deep breaths. This not only calms your nervous system, but also slows your speech, steadies your movements, and helps you project confidence. At the end of the day, confidence is not about feeling fearless, it's about choosing to act confidently, even when fear is present. Your body is your greatest tool in making that choice. You don't have to wait until you feel confident to start carrying yourself differently. The simple act of adjusting your posture, maintaining eye contact using intentional gestures, and controlling your breathing can make an immediate difference in how you show up in the world. This is something you can practice anywhere. The next time you walk into a room, notice your posture. When you're speaking with someone, pay attention to your eye contact. When you're sitting at your desk, check if you're slouching or sitting up straight. Small adjustments lead to big changes. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Because here's the truth, confidence isn't about waiting until you feel ready. It's about acting as if you already are. And when you change your body language, you're not just influencing how others see you, you're changing how you see yourself. Fear is one of the most misunderstood emotions we experience. Most people see it as a barrier, an obstacle standing in the way of their success. They think fear is something to be avoided, something that means they aren't ready, aren't good enough, or aren't capable. But what if fear isn't a stop sign? What if it's actually a signal pointing you in the right direction? Every time we face something new, something uncertain, or something bigger than we've experienced before, fear shows up. It's that tightness in your chest before you step onto a stage. It's the hesitation before you speak up in a meeting. It's the nervous energy before you walk into a room full of strangers. And in those moments, we often interpret fear as a reason to pull back. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe this isn't for me. But what if those feelings aren't a reason to stop, but a reason to move forward? Think about the times in your life when you felt real growth. The moments when you stretched beyond what you thought was possible. Did they happen when you were completely comfortable? Or did they happen when you stepped into something unknown, something uncertain, something that made your heart race? The truth is, everything worth having exists on the other side of fear. Most people wait for fear to disappear before they take action. They think, once I feel confident, I'll start that business. Once I feel ready, I'll ask for that promotion. Once I stop feeling afraid, I'll finally go after what I want. But that's not how it works. Confidence doesn't come before action, it comes from action. You don't wait for fear to leave, you move forward despite it. And in doing so, you prove to yourself that fear wasn't a reason to stop, it was a sign you were growing. Fear and excitement feel almost identical in the body. Your heart beats faster. Your breathing quickens. You feel a surge of energy. The only difference between the two is the label you give them. What if, instead of saying I'm scared, you said I'm excited? What if, instead of seeing fear as something negative, you saw it as proof that you're about to do something important? Because the reality is, if something doesn't scare you, it probably isn't challenging you. And if it isn't challenging you, it isn't helping you grow. Think about a child learning to walk. They don't sit there analyzing whether they're ready. They don't wait for the fear of falling to disappear. They just try. They stumble, they get back up, they try again. And through that process, they become confident. They don't gain confidence before they walk, they gain it by walking. The same is true for you. Most of us live inside a comfort zone built from years of habits, routines, and familiar experiences. It's safe. It's predictable. But it's also limiting. Outside that zone is everything we want: growth, success, opportunity. And the only thing standing between the two is fear. The people who accomplish the most in life aren't fearless, they just don't let fear make their decisions for them. The next time you feel fear creeping in, pause and ask yourself, is this fear stopping me from danger, or is it just the discomfort of stepping into something bigger? Because most of the time, fear isn't keeping us safe, it's keeping us small. Think about the last time you avoided something because of fear. Maybe you didn't speak up in a meeting because you were afraid of looking foolish. Maybe you didn't introduce yourself to someone because you were afraid of rejection. Maybe you didn't go after an opportunity because you were afraid of failure. In each of those moments, the fear didn't actually protect you. It just kept you from moving forward. But now think about a time when you did push through fear. Maybe you applied for a job even though you weren't sure you'd get it. Maybe you had a difficult conversation even though it felt uncomfortable. Maybe you took a risk that stretched you beyond your limits. What happened? Even if things didn't go perfectly, you survived. You learned. You grew. And the fear that once seemed overwhelming became smaller. Fear is like a muscle. The more you confront it, the stronger you get. The more you step into uncertainty, the more you realize that uncertainty isn't something to be afraid of, it's something to embrace. Every time you do something that scares you, you're training your brain to handle discomfort. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. One of the fastest ways to build confidence is to make fear your ally instead of your enemy. Instead of avoiding it, lean into it. Instead of seeing it as something negative, see it as proof that you're moving in the right direction. Because the things that scare you most are often the things that will change you the most. Think about the people you admire, the ones who seem fearless, unstoppable. Do you think they never experience fear? Of course they do. The difference is they've learned to act anyway. They've learned that fear isn't a barrier, it's a guide. If you wait until you feel completely comfortable, you'll be waiting forever. If you wait until fear disappears, you'll never take action. But if you reframe fear, if you start seeing it as a necessary part of growth, then suddenly it stops being something that holds you back and starts being something that pushes you forward. So what's something in your life right now that scares you? Maybe it's making a big decision. Maybe it's taking a risk. Maybe it's speaking up, stepping up, or showing up in a way you never have before. Whatever it is, don't run from the fear. Acknowledge it. Feel it. And then move forward anyway. Because confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. And the more you do that, the more unstoppable you become. We often think that confidence is something we need to feel before we can act. But what if confidence isn't an emotion at all? What if it's a habit, something we do, rather than something we have? Because when you look at the most confident people, they don't just sit around waiting to feel sure of themselves. They act first, and confidence follows. The way we show up every day, the choices we make, the way we speak, the actions we take creates a pattern. And that pattern either builds confidence or destroys it. If you constantly doubt yourself, avoid challenges, or second-guess your decisions, you're reinforcing insecurity. But if you take small, consistent actions that challenge your limits, even when you don't feel ready, you're training yourself to trust your own abilities. Think about a time when you learned something new. Maybe it was driving a car, learning a sport, or even speaking a new language. At first, it felt awkward. You probably made mistakes. You might have even felt like you'd never get it right. But over time, as you kept practicing, something changed. The awkwardness faded. Your movements became smoother. You stopped second-guessing yourself. And eventually, what once felt impossible became second nature. Confidence works the same way. It's not something you have, it's something you build. And the only way to build it is through action. Every time you take action, no matter how small, you send a message to yourself, I can do this. And the more you prove that to yourself, the more natural confidence becomes. Most people assume that confident people were just born that way. They think that some people are naturally self-assured while others aren't. But that's not true. Confidence isn't a personality trait, it's a skill. And like any skill, it can be developed. But the only way to develop it is by taking action before you feel ready. Imagine two people standing at the edge of a swimming pool. One is nervous about jumping in. The other isn't thinking about it too much, they just take the leap. The first person hesitates, debating whether or not they're ready, worrying about how cold the water will be. The second person is already swimming. The difference isn't that the second person wasn't afraid, it's that they didn't let their fear stop them. And because they jumped, they now know they can do it. That's how confidence is built, by doing the thing before you feel 100% sure of yourself. By taking action even when you have doubts. By proving to yourself over and over again that you are capable. The problem is that most people wait. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait until they feel completely ready. They wait until fear disappears. But that moment never comes. Confidence doesn't come before action, it comes from action. Think about the first time you had to speak in front of a group of people. Maybe you were nervous. Maybe your hands were shaking. Maybe your voice wasn't as steady as you wanted it to be. But you did it anyway. And the next time you spoke, it was a little easier. And the time after that, even easier. Not because the fear was gone, but because you had built trust in yourself. Now, imagine if you had waited until you felt confident before speaking. You might still be waiting. Because confidence isn't something that suddenly appears, it's something that grows with every action you take. So how do you turn action into a habit? The key is to start small. Too often people think they need to make giant leaps in order to be confident. They think they need to completely transform overnight. But confidence isn't built in one big moment, it's built in the small daily choices you make. If you want to be more confident in conversations, start by speaking up just a little more than you normally would. If you want to be more confident in making decisions, start by committing to small choices without second-guessing yourself. If you want to be more confident in taking risks, start by doing something slightly outside your comfort zone each day. Each small action is like a deposit in your confidence bank. At first, it might not seem like much, but over time, those small actions add up. And eventually, you look back and realize that you've built something strong, something that can't be shaken by doubt or fear. One of the best ways to reinforce this habit is through reflection. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what action did I take today that pushed me outside my comfort zone? It doesn't have to be something big. Maybe you introduced yourself to someone new. Maybe you shared your opinion in a meeting. Maybe you started a project you've been putting off. The action itself doesn't matter as much as the fact that you did something. And here's the secret. The more you take action, the less fear controls you. Because every time you step forward despite fear, you weaken its grip. you start to realize that fear doesn't actually stop you. It's just noise. And once you see it for what it is, it's power. This is why confident people seem to have momentum. It's not that they never feel fear or doubt, it's that they've trained themselves to act anyway. They've built the habit of confidence. And once you build that habit, confidence stops being something you try to have and starts being something you are. So if you want to be more confident, stop waiting. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for fear to disappear. Stop waiting for someone to tell you you're ready. You're never going to feel completely ready, and that's okay. You don't have to feel ready to take action. You just have to take the first step. Because confidence isn't something that happens to you. It's something you create. And it starts the moment you decide to act.